Title: The Returning Shadow. In a small village named Little Nuristan, people had lived for years under the banner of the Republic, clinging to hope. A newly built school stood at the center of the village, along with a tiny library and a modest market symbols of a better life in the making. Zahra, a teenage girl with eyes full of dreams, would go to school every day, cherishing the hope of becoming a doctor. But behind the curtain of hope, corruption, injustice, and a widening gap between the people and the rulers spread like a silent disease. Officials cared more about personal gain than the future of the nation. International aid vanished into unknown hands, projects were abandoned, and people continued life with broken hearts. One summer night, the news arrived that the neighboring district had fallen to the Taliban. Just days later, Little Nuristan followed, without resistance. Men with long beards and rusted guns entered the village. Zahra's school was shut down, books were burned, and children's dreams faded into silence. The Taliban had returned not with loud slogans, but with a silence heavy with threat. The people who once voted for the Republic now only thought about survival. Zahra, no longer allowed to go to school, would read her hidden book at night by the faint light of a candle. She refused to bury her dreams. Part 2. The Seed of Light. Months passed. A harsh winter arrived and froze what little hope remained. But Zahra made a decision. She would no longer be a silent reader. One night, she quietly visited the homes of her friends and whispered, "If you want, come to my house at night. I'll teach you how to read." At first, they were afraid, but there was something in Zahra's eyes that warmed their hearts. From that night on, more and more girls came to her basement. There were no desks, no blackboard, just candlelight and the glow of hope. A curious little boy watched through the window. An old woman whispered prayers for them in the dark. Zahra's mother stood guard in silence. The Taliban didn't know that in the heart of the darkness, a nameless school had begun. Zahra wasn't just teaching reading and writing. She was teaching courage, resilience, and the right to dream. One night, Zahra wrote a sentence on a scrap of paper and read it to her students. "Shadows don't last, forever light always returns." And they smiled, because by then, they weren't just students. Each one of them had a teacher growing inside. Zahra knew she might not see tomorrow, but she had planted a seed, one that would grow someday, somewhere, and bloom under the light of a new dawn.